There once was a man from PA, and all the Jews he just wanted to slay. He started believing in Allah, told his mom he was off to Hezbollah, but the feds got him first, so hooray. That's the first limerick that Allah has given me in all this time, David.
Wow.
Welcome to This Week in Jihad. We are back with more Jihad and the great David Wood. What do you have to say to our viewing audience today, sir?
Well, to be fair, Allah did change his literary styles over time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's why I thought a limerick was in order. That'll go in
Yeah,
the back of the book, you know?
yeah. See, early on, he liked these short little revelations. Then he liked these super long chapters and stuff. And then it seems like he's circling back to limericks now.
And just wait until we get the hour-long opening poem. That's gonna be Surah 2. But anyway, what we have in the poem actually was a reference to this man. I know I have him here. Jack Malloy. And Jack Malloy, there he is. Those are actually the photos that Jack, after he converted to Islam, sent to Hezbollah, trying to apply for membership.
Mm-hmm.
And they said, look, we like you, but hold off a little bit because the Jews are sending spies and you're an American. You could be a Mossad guy for all we know. And so we're going to hold off on your membership a little bit for now. So he told his mom, see this opening
Mom,
poem is...
Hezbollah won't let me in.
His mom wrote to him, actually. We don't have what he wrote to his mom, but his mom wrote to him. Your master plan was to join Hezbollah and kill Jews? And he says yes. But he also explained that he had to go to Russia to fight against Ukraine. And she says, how is joining Russia part of the master plan? And he said, it's a job. It's a 1-year job, apparently, to raise money or something so that he could go over to Lebanon and kill Jews for Hezbollah. And he says he went up to them in where was this? He searched for Hezbollah and Hezbollah training online. He said that he'd attended a he attended a Hezbollah funeral.
How do I join jihad to slaughter lots of Jews for Hezbollah?
So he says that at the Hezbollah funeral, I don't know how he found a Hezbollah funeral, the gate guards, even though they were different ones from last week, because he kept trying, you see, know of me. They knew that I'm Irish, that I'm Shia, and that they knew I want in with Hezbollah. They were entertaining the idea. I fully expect to be taken off the streets at any moment for questioning and vetting. And so he says that his great-grandmother fought against the Zionists, but he's going to do it now Islamically. I have a fierce hatred of these Zionists, and I need to fight. So here again, we have a convert to Islam who somehow gets the idea that joining his new peaceful religion involves killing people who don't believe in it.
It's weird. What do we call this? Sudden onset jihad syndrome. And then you have, this is specifically the convert version of that, where all these people convert to Islam, and from somewhere they get the idea that Allah wants them to go slaughter Jews in the name of Allah. It is interesting that Hezbollah is being a bit precautious there. It seems like blowing their testicles off with those pagers kind of put the fear in their heart, because these guys used to all these terrorist groups used to love having American converts, and they'd call them al-Ameriki and so on. And they love it. And you see the white people are converting and slaughtering people for us. They love that. Now they're a little, I don't know. Last time we accepted something from outside, it literally blew all our testicles off. So let's kind of stick with people we know, maybe.
So this guy Malloy, he is indeed Irish. He's a dual Irish and American citizen, and he lived in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And so that's why the limerick started. There once was a man from PA who wanted to join his ballet. No, I rejected that line.
Wait, where
But
did you say
anyway,
he's from?
Allah canceled it. Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh, home of the greatest sports dynasty in history.
Yeah, but even that did not deter him from wanting to join Hezbollah.
This, ladies and gentlemen, this is why if you live in Pittsburgh, you need to bring your kids to Pittsburgh Steelers games. That is the only way to keep them from becoming terrorists.
Oh, I thought you meant the Pirates, the lumber company.
Ah, Pirates. Ugh. Oh, yeah, and the Penguins, too, because hockey's so important.
I just remember the Pirates when they had Roberto Clemente and Willie Stargell and Doc Ellis. That was quite a team.
Yep. No, guys, I grew up a bit in Morgantown, West Virginia, and it's about an hour out of Pittsburgh. So Pittsburgh fans there. Pittsburgh, lots of Pittsburgh's fans of all their various sports.
All right, let's go to Sweden. Shall we go to Sweden? We got Elias.
I'm not going to Sweden.
You're not going to Sweden. Elias
No,
and
we'll get
Rasmus
jihaded.
Johansson. Yeah. These are two Swedish brothers, Elias and Rasmus Johansson, and they converted to Islam.
This is going to go well.
They have been charged with preparing to commit acts of terror and involvement in a terrorist organization, according to an indictment submitted at Nacka District Court, which I think should change its name to Nakba District Court. But anyway, they joined up with a couple of migrants, Omar Attia and Elias Hakamali, and they were going to target Jewish individuals as part of their intended jihad. So here we have something that you've remarked upon many times, David, that in Pittsburgh, PA, and in Stockholm, we have three people who don't know two brothers in Stockholm and one kid in Pittsburgh, and they don't know each other. They don't know the other exists. They both convert to Islam, and they both get the idea that they ought to kill Jews. And every last non-Muslim politician in the Western world would tell us they misunderstood Islam, and yet they've misunderstood it halfway across the world from each other in exactly the same way.
And we've seen an endless array of converts who somehow misunderstand Islam in exactly the same way, which to me, it leads to an obvious question. If people convert to Islam and then they suddenly misinterpret Islam in exactly the same way and go on a killing spree, you basically got two possibilities here. Either they're accurately understanding Islam and Islam actually calls for these things, or there's something in Islam which just causes people to massively misinterpret it and compels them to go out and slaughter people in the name of Allah. So wait a minute. Two possibilities here. Either Islam actually calls for slaughtering unbelievers in the name of Allah. Allah means what he says. Or Allah doesn't mean what he says, and we're just misinterpreting it because we make the mistake of thinking that Allah means what he says, and then people misinterpret it and think that he means what he says, even though he doesn't. He means the opposite of what he says, and they go out and kill anyway. Practically speaking, what is the difference? What's the guys? Practically speaking, what is the difference between a religion that actually calls for slaughtering people in the name of Allah, or one that doesn't really call for slaughtering people in the name of Allah, but just really, really sounds like it does to new converts, and so they decide to go out and slaughter in the name of Allah? Practically speaking, either one of those gets you killed. So to all the stupid politicians and journalists, frankly, it doesn't matter if you were somehow correct and everyone's just misinterpreting this because Allah doesn't really mean what he says, and you know it, but other people come to the wrong conclusion. They think Allah means it when he says, fight those who do not believe. What's the difference? We're still getting killed over this. So how is that any better? How is your hypothetical, imaginary, delusional version of Islam, where Allah says all these things, and even though he brags about how clear he is and how precise he is in his commands, somehow he means the exact opposite of what he actually says. Suppose you're right. What's the difference? What's the difference? People are still coming to kill us over this.
David, I think you're veering close to Islamophobia.
I may be. And
That's
another
very
question.
serious. Another question.
And another question. If all you peaceful Muslims out there who are out there doing dawah, trying to convert people to Islam, I have to say, what can you do to stop these people from concluding that after they've converted to Islam, their job is to slaughter Jews in the name of Allah? What can you do to correct that error? Because as far as I can see, there's nothing you can do. And so let me get this straight. You are out there telling people to convert to Islam, and after they convert to Islam, a disturbing portion of these people decide that they have to slaughter people in the name of Allah. And there's absolutely nothing you can do to stop it. There's nothing you don't, well, we don't know. We tell them, hey, become Muslims, and then they go kill people. We don't know what to do because we don't believe that. But we don't know how to stop them. Okay. Then that task would fall to us. Don't get mad at us for telling people not to convert to Islam and telling people not to follow your religion when you basically admit that you can't stop these new converts from slaughtering people in the name of Allah.
And it happens all over the world. And we see converts going to jihad all over the world all the time. And yet there is not a single non-Muslim authority, law enforcement, intelligence, anything, anywhere in the world who is studying the phenomenon of conversion to Islam and its correlation to terrorist activity.
No, because that would be Islamophobic.
That would be Islamophobic.
It's funny because you can't even, I mean, they would, I'm sure they would find a way to call it racist, even though you're talking about like white people and converting to Islam and so on, various races converting to Islam. They would still somehow conclude that you're talking about a race.
Yep. You can't get whiter than Swedish. And these Swedish brothers.
As whitest of the white.
Yep.
That's almost as white as Muhammad.
Almost. All right, let's go to San Francisco. And in San Francisco, at the San Francisco Hillel House, connected with San Francisco State University, we had a very interesting bit of graffiti here, David. You see this?
That is interesting. That is very, very interesting graffiti. That combination of symbols.
Yep, that is the Leftist Jihadist Alliance that we have discussed many times. I've never seen it more succinctly or effectively expressed. Right there, the hammer and sickle of Marxism, the anarchist symbol, and Khaybar. What's Khaybar, David?
Oh, that's the place where a Jewish woman killed Muhammad, but Muslims don't know it, and so they think that it's all about them conquering Jews, even though the Jewish woman took out their prophet, and he died in horrible agony. Aisha said she never saw anyone in more agony than Muhammad, and this is a woman who saw a lot of agony in her life because she got to witness the spread of Islam firsthand. She got to see women beaten until their skin turned green, and Muhammad sided with their husbands who were beating them and so on. So she saw some serious messed up suffering, but she never saw anything compared to what Muhammad went through after he'd been poisoned by this Jewish woman. And somehow Muslims brag about it because, you know, losing your prophet is a small price to pay for killing and raping a bunch of Jews.
Well, just in case anybody might not know, Khaybar is an oasis in Arabia where the Jews who were exiled from Medina went after Muhammad had exiled them from Medina. And then Muhammad showed up there one day and massacred those who were there. And nowadays, the jihadis and friends of jihadis frequently chant, Khaybar, Khaybar, O Jews, the army of Muhammad will return, in Arabic. And because they do it in Arabic, most people have no idea what it means. They were just doing it in Sydney, Australia the other day. And I watched the newscast and the fellows saying, I didn't understand what they were saying. And I went into the barber shop, a couple of Iraqi fellows there, and they said, oh, they want to kill Jews. And they're saying it in Sydney, Australia. They are scrawling it on the Hillel House in San Francisco. And what it means is the Muslims are going to come and massacre the Jews again, as they did at Khaybar.
And Jews need a chant in response, something like the army of Muhammad did return, and we literally blew their testicles off because we're way smarter than any army of Muhammad has ever been.
Yep. They need a good 6-day war chant. How many days does it take to defeat 5 Muslim nations? Anyway. George Mason University. Coming out of San Francisco State University, we'll go across the country to George Mason University. And that's in Washington, D.C., as far as I know. And you have 2 sisters at George Mason University, Jenna and Noor Shana. And they were the head of Students for Justice in Palestine. And as it turned out, they were also involved in graffiti. They were spotted spraying, Student Intifada on the George Mason Student Center. And Intifada, of course, refers in Israel to several armed uprisings in which many Israeli civilians were murdered. So the police started investigating, and they went into Noor and Jenna's apartment, and they found firearms, Hamas and Hezbollah flags, ammunition, foreign passports, and signs that said "Death to America" and "Death to Jews." And the best part of this story, David, is that the Council on American Islamic Relations says that they're going to sue because they were targeted for engaging in anti-genocide events on campus, and that all that the cops found were antique firearms in their home, and they're persecuting them because of it. But actually, according to the Washington Free Beacon report, these were actually quite modern firearms, and it looked as if they wanted to make their student intifada come to life at George Mason University.
Weird. And by the way, Robert, I mean, I just have to point out again, what do we hear after every, and how many, I mean, there have been tens of thousands of them, but what do we hear after every Islamic terrorist attack? Every single time we hear, but don't blame all Muslims for these terrorist attacks. You can only blame the one who's actually doing something. And yet, we find that all Jews are just fair targets. Any Jew anywhere in the world, Jews in Australia, Jews in the US, Jews in Canada, they're all fair game if you don't like what Israel is doing.
It's interesting, yeah. So many times we've heard Israel actually being accused by Muslim spokesmen of engaging in collective punishment. And I myself, and I'm sure you also, and many others who speak about Islam, are accused of blaming all Muslims for terrorist attacks. And yet, none of us have ever done this. This is something, on the other hand, that jihadis are doing all over the world all the time. And here's another example I got right here. Yes, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, I actually have a quick story if you weren't going to cover the Oxford Union, but I could cover that anytime if you're not going to cover what happened at the Oxford Union.
Tell me about the Oxford Union, David.
Oh, this was very interesting, Robert. So the Oxford Union had a big debate, 4 participants, 4 speakers for each side, on the topic. Let's see. On the topic, this House believes that Israel is an apartheid state responsible for genocide. Got that?
Got it.
So there were eight speeches. One of them that was against the proposition was Masab Hassan Yusuf, right, son of Hamas, and one of the people defending the proposition was this House that this House believes Israel's an apartheid state responsible for genocide was Miko Peled. And Oxford Union's
Peled? Yes.
He is a pro-Palestinian activist.
Thank you.
Okay. So the Oxford Union said they were going to post all 8 speeches, all 8 of these speeches. They said it. I have it right here. Said they were going to post all 8 speeches, but they posted 6. They posted 6. They left out the speech of Miko Peled, and they left out the speech by Musab Hassan Yusuf, son of Hamas. And people were wondering why. Well, interestingly, we know why.
Why?
Miko is now being investigated because during his presentation, he said that the Hamas jihadis who attacked Israel on October 7th weren't terrorists, they were heroes. And it turns out you can't call Hamas jihadis heroes in the UK. But he did during his Oxford Union presentation. He called them heroes. He said that the guys who are going around slaughtering Israeli men, women, and children, they're the heroes. Okay, so the Oxford Union understand, can't do this. This is actually illegal, and they didn't post it, and he's now under investigation for what he said. So that was the reason for not posting that. They literally had a speaker who's calling the Hamas terrorists who engaged in the October 7th attacks, he's called them heroes. So that was problem number 1. Problem number 2, why they didn't post Musab Hassan Yusuf's speech was in his opening remarks, he did a poll of the audience. He said, how many of you in here, if you had known about what was going to happen on October 7th, suppose the plans had been shared with you, what Hamas was going to do, would you have notified the authorities? Would you have told? 95% of people said no, they would not have told them. So you're talking about the Oxford Union, which, as everything Islam touches, it gets ruined, right? Everything Islam ever touches, it ruins. You take this great debate society, and it gets infiltrated by people who want to slaughter Jews, to the point where 95% of them would say, nope. If I find out that these guys are going to go over, under, and through that fence to slaughter as many Israeli men, women, and children, civilians, as possible, and to take hostages and to take them back and to do whatever they want, I would not inform the authorities. What's that mean? It means that all these people whose main case is, look at what the Israelis are doing to civilians, they actually support killing Israeli civilians. They support it. They would say, no, of course, why are we going to inform people about killing all these civilians? So anyway, Musab did not have the video. It's Oxford Union that has the video, and they are refusing to release this. Why? Because keep in mind, you've got the crowd on video. Now all of a sudden you've got all these people who are asked, would you notify authorities if you knew someone's about to go and kill a bunch of Israeli civilians? And they're sitting there, nope, would not a bit. And they're all on video. The crowd would be on video. You would now have faces of people acknowledging that they support killing Israeli civilians. And the Oxford Union said, we cannot possibly put this out there because you could actually identify all the people in this video who actually support slaughtering Israeli civilians.
Okay, but
and
David,
it kind of completely destroys their case for, we're just against killing civilians. No, you support killing civilians, just Israeli civilians.
It destroys their case, but is it not illegal in Britain to say you wouldn't report? I don't know. That might be perfectly fine.
Yeah, I don't know if you have an obligation, because we've seen polls like that before. Like, this is way back when it was when the question posed to Muslims in Britain was, if you knew someone was about to carry out an attack like the 7/7 bombings, like subway bombing trains or something like that, would you report it? And it was something like 25% or 50% or something like that said no, they wouldn't report someone who's going to do that sort of thing. Now you're talking like 95% of the Oxford. Keep in mind, this isn't Muslims in general. This is people at the Oxford Union, but that kind of tells you about the makeup of the Oxford Union right now, where 95% of them are saying, Oh, we love killing Israeli civilians, and no, we would not want to stop anyone, and we would not want to notify anyone if this was happening. But this is the Oxford Union, man. This is again, Islam just ruins everything it touches.
Yeah, it reminds me of Edward Gibbon, the 18th century English historian, when he said that if Charles Martel hadn't beaten the Muslims at Tours in France in 732, then all of Europe would have been conquered and Islamized, and we would be hearing the Islamic call to prayer from the spires of Oxford. Well, it took a little while, but here we are now.
Yep. Isn't it interesting though? Like everything, you take things that are a good idea. A debate society where you get some debaters lined up on each side, and then you debate. That's a good idea. Speaker's corner, good idea, good idea. The United Nations, we're going to have like representatives from nations around the world all get together. What happens? Islam enters and just ruins everything. Every good idea that anyone ever comes up with, Islam has to insert itself into there and then ruin it. And then somehow we're all supposed to believe that this is wonderful and true.
And here's more. Richmond, Virginia. The great Islamic scholar Jalal Abdul Rub. Yeah.
I debated him.
Oh, really?
Yeah, what'd he do this time?
Well, he is... Let me see. I know I got a picture of him. Here we go.
Yeah, that's him.
That's him. He said, the West Bank has been continuously feeling the pressure by a kind of people who look like human beings. They talk, they walk like humans, the settlers. And the worst among the settlers are the American settlers. They are the children of the devil in so many ways. I didn't test their DNA. And if they tested their DNA, they will find that so many of them have nothing to do with the children of Israel to begin with. So they look like humans, but they're not really. What do you think they might be, David?
I don't know, apes, pigs, all kinds of things. You find all sorts of things in the in Muslim sources: rats, lizards, and then Muhammad actually advocates a scientific experiment. He's saying if you put camel milk in front of a rat, it will it won't drink the camel milk, but if you put sheep milk in front of it, it will drink it, and that's because it's following kosher dietary laws. And this shows that rats are Jews that have been transformed into rats. So he's actually saying, look, you see, Muhammad invented science. He invented the scientific method of proving this stuff. Yes. Hey, that's funny that's Sheikh Jalal. That was one of my first debates, and he got crushed so horribly that he wanted to kind of redeem himself. So he actually invited me to his mosque up in like wherever it was, Connecticut or something like that. I was in New York, so I drove there, but invited me to his mosque to have two debates, one on whether Christianity is true and one on whether Islam is true. And he brought in a different debater. This was Bassam Zawadi. Anyway, few Christians showed up to the debate about whether Christianity was true. On the debate whether Islam was true, they left. They didn't want to be in a mosque while that was being debated. So anyway, I'm doing this debate on whether Islam is true, and I just look around and was like, hey, this is all Salafi Muslims in here. The entire mosque is nothing but me and a bunch of Salafi Muslims, right? So this is interesting. So anyway, I'm doing the debate. I was like, well, if I'm going to go out, I'm going to go out like a boss. So I finished. So I'm giving my conclusion. I was like, so in conclusion, I encourage everyone here to reject Muhammad as an obvious false prophet. I started saying that. Anyway, Jalal's son was sitting right in the front row, right in front of me. His son goes like, as soon as I said, I encourage all of you to reject Muhammad as a false prophet. His son goes like this. His son goes, he started laughing that I was saying this in his dad's mosque. Anyway, I think that kid later apostatized. I heard a bunch of Jalal's children have left Islam.
Interesting. Very interesting. I wouldn't be surprised, though, if he had that reaction to you that he probably did later, because he was just, he had the distance from where he was and what he was doing to be able to laugh at the absurdity of the situation, which a true believer would never have done.
Yeah, you're not supposed to be laughing, as I'm saying, as I'm encouraging people to reject Muhammad. It is interesting because people don't. I mean, Sheikh Jalal's He's a Muslim scholar. I have books. On my shelf here that are that he's the translator. He's the translator of volumes that have been translated into English and so on. I'm talking about by like academic presses and so on, that they'll get him as the translator, and here he is, and the Jews, they kind of look like humans, but they're not.
So here's a question for you.
Yeah, I somehow walked out alive.
I think that was obvious, but since it was asked, anyway.
I had to fight my way out of there. Had to stomp a lot of Salafis, but I made it out.
All right. Well, let's go to Syria. Syria, of course, is the really big jihad news right now, with the jihadis looking like they are on the verge of actually taking another country, governing Syria. Syria has been governed by Alawites for 54 years. Hafez Assad and then his son Bashar. And the Alawites are only 12% of the Syrian population. The Sunni jihadis, however, seem to be in the driver's seat now. And they have made a lot of promises. They said women will not have to cover their heads. And so far they have not, notably, at least as that I've seen, required women to do so. But they promised to show respect for Shiite shrines, and then they broke into the shrine of Muhammad's daughter Zainab near Damascus. They promised not to target Christians, and then they vandalized and destroyed a Greek Orthodox church in Homs, I believe it was. And so they are already breaking their promises, and I am not shocked at all by that. Are you?
No, not a bit, and for multiple reasons. One, you've got a bunch of different groups there, so it's hard for one like leader or something like this to say, "Here's what we're going to do," and expect everyone to be on board with it. Two, lying is pretty acceptable among these guys for temporary gain. I mean, think how many promises were made by the Taliban, and then what do they do? What do they actually do? So, yeah, didn't they burn Assad's the older Assad's tomb or something like that?
Yes.
I think I saw that.
Yeah, there was some kind of shrine to him there, and that's gone.
Yeah, and they burned that. Hey, here's what I found interesting as soon as I saw that. They burned this tomb or whatever of the elder Assad, and no one really cares. People will point it out. His biggest fans might complain and so on, but really no one cares. Could you imagine if the IDF had done that?
Oh my.
It would be international news for the next 15 years. Look what the IDF does. Look what the Jews do. The Jews, they burn their tombs and so on. But if it's Muslims doing it, no one cares. They get a free pass.
Yep. All right, let's go to Bangladesh.
I'd rather not.
Yeah, well, me too, but we can go there metaphorically. In Bangladesh, last week, a mob ran through a Hindu area in the city of Sylhet, and it was all triggered by an allegedly blasphemous Facebook post that a Hindu boy had supposedly posted. And the mob ransacked the local Hindu temple and caused destruction. They stole, actually, valuables worth over $12,500, which is a lot of money in Bangladesh. It's 1,500,000 Bangladeshi taka. And they also targeted the home of Gar Das, who is the leader of the Bangladesh Hindu Buddhist Christian Unity Council, and tore down his own family's temple. And the police have said, vandalism? We have not received any reports of vandalism. What do you think's happening there?
Same thing we see over and over and over again. You don't even know whether the victims of these attacks have done anything, because it's just perfectly acceptable, if you want to make something up. If I were a Muslim in Bangladesh or Pakistan or something like that, and you and I were having an argument, or even if we weren't having an argument, I'm just like, hey, I like Robert's tie. I want that tie. Hey, everyone. Hey everyone, did you know that Robert Spencer just burned the Quran? Yeah, he did. Let's get him. Oh, let me get the tie. And that's how they do it. And we've seen this over and over and over again. And Muslims would say, "Oh, but this would not be the proper application of Sharia." Bull, it's not. We have it in your sources. We have the story about a slave girl who was found stabbed to death. Muhammad says, "Who did this?" And her owner came forward and said, "Yeah, Muhammad, I stabbed her to death. She's the mother of my kids, but I had to stab her to death because she kept making fun of you, Muhammad." Muhammad said, "Oh, okay, that's fine. No problem there. She was making fun of me." Well, what's that? You got one witness, the guy who killed her, saying, yeah, she said all this stuff about Muhammad. What's that mean? It means I could walk around killing anyone for any reason. When you say, "Hey, who did this?" I say, but a person was making fun of Muhammad. Oh, okay, free pass. That's exactly what they do right now. Oh, now we'll take all your stuff.
Yep. It's happening all over the place, and it's accelerated in Bangladesh recently because of the fall of the Hasina government, and Muhammad Yunus, who is a Nobel Prize winner, has taken over, but he seems to be giving the jihadis free rein to terrorize the Hindus in Bangladesh. And here's an interesting, very odd story, also out of Bangladesh, David. What do you make of this? In the border area between India and Bangladesh, not far across the border in India, the Hindus were renovating a temple. And the Bangladeshi border guards, fully armed with lethal weapons, crossed over into Indian territory in order to try to stop the renovation of this temple. And they explained that if the temple is renovated, and is fully functional, then it will hurt the sentiments of Muslims in Bangladesh. And it will offend them and trigger unrest. And so the Bangladeshi border guards actually crossed into India to stop the renovation of this temple.
I would certainly hope that the Indian military would offer some repercussions for that sort of thing. But as far as in Islam, it became part of Sharia that you're even talking about like Christians. Christians can't fix the roofs on their churches and so on. And we're people of the book. We have a privileged status over Hindus. So the idea of Hindus actually renovating a temple would be worse. I mean, it's a brilliant strategy, and this occurs as far as Christians not being able to repair their buildings and so on. This is in what's called the Pact of Umar. There's confusion among Muslims whether this is the Caliph Umar or a later Umar and so on. Ibn Kathir was confused about that, but regardless, it became part of Islam that Christians and Jews can't, even if they've fully accepted dhimmi status and are paying money and doing everything that is required of them, once their buildings start falling apart, they're not allowed to repair them. It's kind of brilliant long-term strategy. It's like your buildings are going to rot, your faith is going to decay over time, and so on. And so, no problem. We'll let you keep paying us money in the meantime, but eventually you'll fall apart. But yeah, so, and Hindus would be that would be worse for Hindus to repair their temples and so on. So,
yep. And I wrote a book actually that's coming out probably in about 10 months or 11 months. They keep them for so long, but it's actually about, in part, the fact that once they bleed the dhimmi communities dry, that's when the great Islamic empires start to go into decline, because they're depending on the dhimmis for their income.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, I mean, that's like the ideal in Islam. We sit around banging all our wives and slave girls while you guys do all the work and hand us the money, and you pay us to be your overlords and so on. I mean, it's like pathetic.
Yep, that's the model. That's the idea. All right, here's a wild story for you. This is out of Afghanistan, and in Afghanistan, this 19-year-old boy named Sohrab was arrested for homosexual activity and put in prison. And then when he was in prison, the Taliban guards came and raped him.
Shocker.
So
You did not even have to tell me that, Robert. I knew. So, okay, this guy's getting locked up. I know exactly what these guys are going to do.
So why can you spell it out for our audience at home? Why this guy would be arrested for homosexual activity and then raped by the people who arrested him for homosexual activity?
One of life's great mysteries, Robert. There's no way of knowing these things.
Well, actually, rape is a tool of humiliation in Islam, and this is it's also something that will, at least when it comes to women, it will get you hellfire, because the women have to keep the men from being tempted. That's the whole idea of covering. And so in Iran, there's this concerted effort actually to rape women in prison so that they'll go to hell. And they're right before they're executed, they're often raped, so that then they not only get executed, but they get the hellfire for being victims of rape, for not having prevented this. And I think that it's something like that here, that it's the idea of trying to degrade this individual who they've arrested. And the rapists, as long as they have wives and children and are continuing to have Islam grow, then they're not considered in the same category as somebody who calls himself gay or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean, think about this. Hey, Abdul, Ahmed, Mohammed, why you raping that guy? Oh, for punishment. We're punishing him to teach him a lesson. We're punishing him to teach him a valuable lesson. It's not because we want to do this. We just have to punish him. We have to teach him a lesson. If you want to be treated like this, then this is how we're going to treat you. There's a woman in California. She never shares any of this publicly, but she was in a Muslim country and converted to Christianity, and her parents handed the issue over to her uncle to correct her course. So he showed up with him and his friends showed up and gang raped her and said, so if you want to act like a non-Muslim, then we're going to treat you like a non-Muslim. This is how we're going to treat you every day until you come back to Islam. Fortunately, she got the heck out of there. She was able to get to a Western country. Sadly, some people are not in that situation.
Indeed. Well, time's passing by fast today, so there's a lot more jihad. Let's go to Germany. In Germany, these guys are Germans. You can tell they're Germans.
Yeah.
And they are marching through a Christmas market. And there's video readily available on Twitter. You can find it. That is X. And they were screaming, there is no God but Allah, and Muhammad is his prophet, and Allahu Akbar. Now, why would they go to the trouble of going through a Christmas market and screaming Allahu Akbar and there's no God but Allah and Muhammad is his prophet?
Same reason they go into the middle of anything and pray. You got to be up in your face with this stuff. You are striving to make all religion for Allah. And if you're talking about Christmas, is a celebration of the birth of Christ, the incarnation, and they have a really, really, really big problem. It's weird, even though they believe Jesus was born of a virgin and so on. They know what Christians believe about the deity of Christ and so on. So they want to confront it. And the bad part is that you've got all these Muslims. They understand. We're coming for your religion. That's their mindset. We're coming for your religion. Your religion is the only thing that's going to unite you. Your religion is the only thing that can stand in our way. If we can crush your religion, get your religion out of the way, weaken your religion, you guys won't be able to stand. So they come right for it. And in the meantime, Christians are going, well, whatever we do, we don't want to hurt these guys' feelings about their religion. Isn't it stupid? I mean, if these guys are going through, no, and they're complaining about Christmas, every non-Muslim there should be yelling Muhammad was a pedophile. Everyone, every last one should be yelling it.
Yep.
I'm not saying run up to random Muslims and say that. I'm saying if you're being challenged in the streets and people are attacking you and are attacking your beliefs, and all you care about is not hurting their feelings, you've kind of already lost there. You've already lost that one. So you need to change that plan.
They're very much already lost. There's another related story. Uh, Ali Al-G. You know how the German press, they don't publish the surnames of perpetrators. So we have this guy Ali Al-G. It's hard not to think of Ali G.
Ali
Uh,
G.
Ali G has plotted. He's an Iraqi asylum seeker, a refugee. Plotted a jihad massacre at the Augsburg Christmas market. And he has a history of posting pro-Islamic State content on social media. But he was walking around free, able to plot a massacre at a Christmas market.
Doesn't it seem like there are plots at German Christmas markets every year, Robert? I mean, I
Pretty
recall
much.
these from the past, Christmas markets. And
Yep.
and guys, there's a reason for the plots to attack Christmas markets. We brought it up many times before. Why target an Ariana Grande concert? Why target why were there so many attacks on concert venues? Why Christmas markets? Well, again, you do have Muslims who believe, as long as they're targeting the kuffar, that any Muslims who are killed in the process, that's collateral damage. So if you blow up a train, you understand there are going to be Muslims there. You're not targeting them. But if you happen to catch Muslims, well, that's collateral damage. There are Muslims who think that. But there are also Muslims who think, I want to do everything I can to minimize the chances of any Muslims getting killed in the attack, because I don't want to be responsible for that. And so what do? You go to places where you're not going to have any serious Muslims at all. Where would that be? Ariana Grande concert. Not going to be any devout Muslims there. Christmas market. Going to be a bunch of devout Muslims sitting at the Christmas market? No. Devout Muslims would want to get as far away from that as possible. And so that's why they attack them.
Reminds me of when I met with this guy years and years ago. He was a secret ex-Muslim who was very well connected in the American Muslim community. And we met in this restaurant, very popular restaurant. And I asked him kind of naively, why did you want to meet here? Wouldn't some people who know you be here? And he said, oh no, they serve alcohol in here. Nobody I know is going to be in here. So there you
Smart.
go. Anyway, in France, we have a man from Afghanistan, Nasir, and he is suspected of having stabbed his wife, Fakhria, 8 times and left her for dead. And he explained on the stand, she wants to be European. I don't want to be. They're in France. She wants to be European. I don't want to be. Every European authority should study that sentence, but they won't, of course.
Nope. And pretty straightforward on the reasoning. Ladies and gentlemen, been through it a million times. Surah 4 verse 65. If you do not submit fully to all of Muhammad's decisions, you're not a real Muslim. Well, if someone isn't on board, if someone westernizes, wants to live like a European, not following Muhammad's decisions, what do you call that person? Well, if you're not a real Muslim anymore, what are you? You're an apostate. What did Muhammad say? Do to apostates, kill them. Very easy to justify.
That's right.
Killing people. Mm-hmm.
All right. I think we can't let the week go by without remarking on this. That's Pope
Warms
Frank
the heart.
there. Yeah.
Warms the heart.
For those of you who may not have seen this before, that is Pope Francis, and this is baby Jesus in the manger, and the manger is draped, the cradle is draped with a keffiyeh, the symbol of the Palestinian Jihad. What's wrong with this, David?
What's not wrong with that,
Yeah,
Robert?
that's-
One, it's at the Vatican. Two, the Pope's sitting in front of it. Three, they're making Jesus a political tool for Palestinian terrorists. Four, completely unrealistic. Jesus was a Jewish baby with Jewish parents. they weren't Palestinians attacking Jews. So all kinds of things wrong with that. In response, I had Grok, the AI, make me a picture of baby Muhammad holding up an Israeli flag, and I said, "See how easy this is to do."
Did it refuse? It didn't refuse to do it?
Nope, nope, nope. Grok is pretty open minded.
I'm amazed. There
Yeah,
are more things.
Chat GPT might have been different, but Grok let me do it.
Well, that's great. A few other things. Pope Francis, of course, in doing this, is endorsing a bloody and genocidal jihad. Palestinian leaders have made it clear not a single Jew will be allowed to live in their Palestinian state. So, what happens to the 7 million Jews who are in Israel now? New genocide. In doing this, of course, the Pope is also accepting Hamas's fake and wildly inflated casualty figures that justify the claim that there's a genocide of Palestinians going on. Jesus, of course, was not a Palestinian. The Romans did not name the area Palestine until 100 years after Jesus. And the Pope never condemned the October 7th massacre of 1,200 Israelis.
But he did condemn people for making fun of Muhammad after people were slaughtered, didn't he? I seem to recall that. I think it was after the Charlie Hebdo massacre, and
Yeah,
the Pope was asked about it. If I recall, he was walking on a plane. They're like, "What do you think about all the people who were killed for making cartoons about Muhammad?" He goes, "Hey, I mean, just think. I mean, if you talk about my mother, I might punch you in your face." So he's actually siding with the jihadis.
I'd like to see the Pope punch somebody in the face.
I would. That would be devastating.
I'd even volunteer. I'd go to the Vatican if I
I'll
could.
do it too. Pope Francis, you have an open invitation. If you would like to punch either me or Robert Spence, no retaliation.
That's right.
We think it would be hilarious to have a story about getting punched in the face by the Pope. And I don't think you would do the slightest bit of damage to either one of us, but it would be funny and it'd be YouTube gold. So help us out. Punch us in the
Yep.
face.
We just need the audience. Just tell us when to be there. All right. Of course, everybody knows that this year, as in many years past now, in the UK, the most common baby name is Muhammad, and so that's obvious what's happening there. But I wanted to go to something that's not as well known, and you'll love this. This is this play that's playing in London right now, Expendable. Have you heard of this, David? Expendable is, let me get it here. This is a play. Oh shoot, hold on. I got the wrong link. After all the 53 minutes in and everything's going
Yep.
great.
Yep, and this is all this epic fail is all people are going to remember. They're going to be like, "Ha! Robert ruined the show again."
Yep. It was the gin. Anyway, the play says that it spotlights the often overlooked voices of Pakistani women. And the Spectator, in its review, says Expendable is an urgent bulletin from the front line of the grooming gang scandal. So this is wild. We have a play about the grooming gang scandal, the mass rape of thousands, tens of thousands of English girls, British girls, by mostly Pakistani Muslims, who believed that they could take the captives of the right hand, as the Quran directs.
Mm-hmm.
But wait, it's not what you might think, as I'm sure you already know. It's not really about the rape gang scandals at all. The setting is a kitchen in Yorkshire, where Zara is trying to keep her family together after her son Rahil was outed as a rape suspect by a national newspaper. White thugs dump parcels of excrement on their porch, and Zara cowers under the kitchen table, too scared to answer the door. The racists have mounted a mass demonstration supported by the cops, which causes local bus services to be canceled. Every Muslim in town is terrified of a white vigilante gang who recently targeted a blameless Yemeni pensioner and kicked him to death. Meanwhile, the white thugs are free to scrawl "rape capital of the UK" across the side of a local mosque, while heavy-handed cops arrest 10 innocent Muslims and charge them with violent disorder.
No matter how many times we see it, Robert.
Oh
No
my
matter how many
goodness.
times we see it, it still continues. just think about this. According to this play, and guys, you people in the UK, anyone in the world, but especially you people in the UK, especially victims, the real victims of the grooming gangs, should be pretty ticked off at something like this. Think about what they're saying. Okay, you had tons and tons and tons of Muslims grooming, raping, gang raping, drugging, pimping very young British girls, thousands and thousands of these young girls. Quick question. Who are the real victims? Muslims. That's the message, right? Who are the real victims of a massive campaign of raping and gang raping young British girls because they're not Muslims and you could do what you want with them? Who are the real victims? Muslims. Who are the real victims after every Islamic terrorist attack? Muslims. Really? Not all the people who were slaughtered in the name of Allah? No, who cares about them? They're non-Muslims. Who are the real victims? Muslims, because then people will look at them suspiciously. Poor Muslims. This is messed up, Robert. I mean, I don't know how people get away with this without people just like, are you serious? You're the victims? You're the victims of the grooming gangs.
I was wondering how this play got produced with people not laughing it out of town. I mean, this is a total inversion of reality. He's called Two-Tier Keir Starmer, the prime minister, because he coddles the Muslims and is very, very strict against the native population. And this play is imagining exactly the opposite. And it's Muslim mobs. I mean, we've had stories on this show before about graffiti on the sides of churches and Muslim mobs terrorizing people who are in church at worship. And this is just the opposite. We never see Christians or non-Muslims going into mosques and causing trouble. And yet this is what this play imagines. Anyway, this is Pierre Manent, and he is a French philosopher. So you're a philosopher, David. Maybe you know this guy. Pierre Manent.
Philosophers do not pay attention to French philosophers.
I'll tell Jean-Paul Sartre.
Not since René Descartes. Nothing good came out of France since René Descartes.
Yeah. Anyway, Pierre Manent said, "We still have to look at the masses, the forces, and realize that the pressure is such that we will have to make decisions concerning, I say it bluntly, the number of Muslims in Europe. The number of Muslims in Europe cannot grow indefinitely. If it grows indefinitely, as is the case in Europe today, we will face tragedies that no version of secularism will be able to control." That's what he said. We will face tragedies that no version of secularism will be able to control. Seems pretty commonsensical to me. But Pierre Manent is now under fire. And these are some of the reactions he got. How horrible this guy is. Do you realize how crazy he is? He's making a clear incitement to commit a crime against humanity. Why is Le Figaro easily broadcasting racist anti-Muslim remarks? But is he right?
He's absolutely correct, like indisputably so. And Muslims are bragging about it.
Yep.
They're bragging about we're gonna take over and just do the math. We're eventually gonna take over. And if you say, hey, actually, given their birth rates and given our birth rates, and given secularism's track record of dealing with this, I mean, you had 14 centuries of Christians saying, we actually understand we cannot be controlled by this, and so they would refuse to be controlled by it. The moment Europe goes full secular, what happens? We can't get enough Islam. We have to have it. Got to have more. Got to have more Islam. Please, come in here. We want to show you how tolerant we are by bringing in as many as possible and destroying our civilization to show how tolerant we are. And so he's absolutely correct. But yep. if you can't even say that, kind of seems you might be a little late there, sport.
Yep. And speaking of which, that is Elena Guevara. And Elena Guevara is the daughter of Che Guevara. And she is a doctor in Cuba, where of course
they got doctors in Cuba.
She might be the only one for all I know, but she seems to be living well. Plenty to eat. In any case, ALLthat Guevara, 64 years old, she said, "Brothers of Lebanon," that is Hezbollah, "I am really very proud that the people have reacted and have reached a moment of victory, of collective victory, with very courageous men and women." So she thinks Hezbollah has won in Lebanon. She says, "I really feel that I should be there. It is the strength of a people that pushes you forward. I'm a pediatrician and I can act. There's no problem at all. But besides that, I'm a pretty good shot. I'm a good shot and I'm trained militarily because I come from a military school. I'm at your disposal." So here's this communist, the daughter of Che Guevara, and she wants to join the Jihad.
Do it. Do it. These guys still need medical treatment on their testicles. There are long standing treatments required after losing your testicles. So yes, they could definitely use your help over there.
I'm not sure she'd be able to do anything about that. But in any case, that is the leftist Islamic alliance there once again that we saw in San Francisco on the side of the Hillel House, and now we see with ALLthat Guevara. Anyway, that brings us to the end of another thrilling episode of This Week in Jihad. If there is Jihad this coming week, David and I will be there. And then come back here and tell you all about it. And so until then, pray hope. Do not worry.